Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. Today we are in northern Rush County, Indiana, at the Center Cemetery with Marilyn Gray Roberts and Kelby Roberts. Hi, Marilyn. How are you today?
Just fine, Sarah.
Wonderful. So, can you tell me about the history of Center Christian Church?
Yes, I can. Center Christian Church actually began about 2.5 miles south of where we're located today. It started in 1837 as a Free Will Baptist church. Then in 1840, the congregation moved up the road and built a building. And then in 1861, they moved to the location we're at today. And the church that is here has been a growing church over the years. It still has many members who go back to the original founders of the church. As you can see, the stained glass windows are ones that were donated by members of the church and are one of the focal points of the church.
Kelby, do you have anything to add?
Yes, over the past year, Center has had 3 additions. Currently, they have an after-school program and a preschool, and they also have about over 300. They have a large congregation in the middle of cornfields for a country church, and they have over 300 members each week.
So, tell me about the cemetery.
It's not clear as to exactly what year the cemetery started, whether it was here before the church. This was a center community, but after the church began, then the burials began very rapidly after that. The first burial is 1837 is listed, but we're not sure the cemetery existed at that time. But Thomas Stanley, who was one of the original founders of the church, he has 2 young sons that are buried here, and possibly their bodies was moved from someplace else. A.B. Reeves, Alfred Benton Reeves, is a person that's buried here at Center. Alfred was a resident of this area, born here in Center Township, and in his early adulthood he farmed, and then as a farmer he invented a plow that became very revolutionary in the field of agriculture. Later on, he moved to Columbus, Indiana, and joined family members in the Reeves and Company manufacturing business, and it became known throughout the Midwest for developing high-powered steam engines for that time. Another Rush County resident that's buried here is James Stanton McBride. Dr. McBride was born in Rushville and entered World War I in 1917. After the war, he became a medical student at IU, and Dr. McBride is known for his work in TB. And he was very revolutionary in the treatment and research for tuberculosis. He was a clinician in Rushville for 25 years at the TB clinic, and then later on was a doctor on staff at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis and taught at the IU Medical School. Another very interesting person that's buried here at Center is William E. May. As an 8-year-old boy, he came to Rush County on the orphan train, and this was very common at that time, that young kids who had no family were sent across the United States, and especially here in the Midwest where there was a lot of farm families, and people would charitably take in these young people. So William E. May lived in about 2 households, we think, here in the county. He married a neighbor girl of the last place that he lived, and he became of age in 1878, and as per the contract, when he left the orphanage in New York, he received a horse and $100, and that was the beginning of his farming career here in Rush County. When he passed away, he was actually buried at Hannigan Cemetery on down the road, but his wife, Mary Frances Leisure, had family in this area. She was buried here at Center, and his body was moved. And his gravestone is marked with an orphan train symbol.
Oh, was there a town here at one time?
Center was actually a community. There were houses clustered, and there was a school, probably even before the church was here. The house that sits there now was built from some of the bricks of the existing school. In 1884, then, the first town in Center Township was platted, and that's the town of Mace, about a mile east of here. And Mace became a commercial hub at that time and was the town of the area.
Very interesting. Kelby, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, Center School closed in 1929 when a new school was built in the nearby town of Mace. The building replaced an older frame school in the little town. The stately building housed grades 1 through 12.
So, what else can you tell us about Mace?
Mace really sprung up after the railroad line connected the major railroads in Dunreath, Indiana, and Rushville, and that's when it started to boom. There was truly a need for a town with lots of commerce for the prairie that was, turning into a thriving agriculture place. All the people that I will be referring to are buried here at Center. They were people that lived in the community, were very involved, and this was their home for generations, and they are here. J.R. Henry owned the major grocery store in Mace. He and his son operated it for many years. He was known as Doc Henry. They bought and sold produce and commodities from the local farmers and sold them in their store. Then there also was a family a McBride family. Matthew McBride actually opened the Mace Bank, and he was involved in it for many years. His nephew, Frank McBride, owned and operated a general store, and Frank McBride's daughters, Zula and Fern, went on to be the store operator and postmistress, worked at the bank, and Fern joined her sister back in the store in later years of their life. Earl Souther was a nephew of J.R. Henry. He and his wife Pauline are buried here in the cemetery. Earl operated the store from the late 20s until the 60s, and it changed hands again at that time. But Earl was quite an interesting character and often wielded his butcher knife if rowdy young boys came into the store. Then another family in this area, the Hunsinger family, opened a garage and were Chevrolet dealerships. People came from miles around to purchase Chevrolet cars. Ray and Bill Hunsinger ran their business. Bill was kind of the mechanic, and Ray was kind of the salesman. And that family is buried here at Center along with their wives.
Wow, so there's quite a rich history here. Thanks so much for watching another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. Today we were in Northern Rush County, Indiana at the Center Cemetery, here with Marilyn Gray Roberts and Kelby Roberts. Now remember, travel slowly and stop often. Bye.